just want to ask you, Mark, on Wednesday night, it was a tough result against Chelsea after a pretty strong performance. What are the positives that you're taking into this Manchester derby from that display?
There are a few things. I feel that when you play a game like that in the middle of the week, I feel it's always prepared me as a manager and players as a team for like another big challenge. Like you kind of get into flow of big challenges. It doesn't hit you cold. And I think for us, it was a much better performance than we played against them last time, Chelsea. And as I say, I've discussed it the other night, but I felt that we should took something out of the game. So then, it just prepares you to be fully focused for this game. Like it's going to be a tough game. Everyone knows, Nick knows the respect I have for him and obviously Manchester City as a team. But we're in front of our fans at Old Trafford, and we've got to give absolutely everything. And then the reality is we played really well the other day and we didn't win the game. So we've got to make sure those moments matter, Jay. Like it's those moments. Set pieces are moments that matter, and those chances we created that we didn't take, we have to punish on Sunday for sure.
And just on Man City, Mark, obviously you played them a few times this season, under Gareth Bale, under Nick Cushing. It's hard to kind of analyse them with the injuries and such, but where have you seen there's been tactical shifts in between Nick and Gareth and that change?
Yeah, mainly tactical adaptations have been relatively the same. You always have to be prepared for Nick because he has the ability to change and adapt quickly, so you have to be prepared for that. I think more importantly, it's really hard as a manager to come in and change the style, especially with the injuries that they've had, and overhaul it. It'd be tough for him to do that, and Nick's an experienced manager, so he wouldn't necessarily do that anyway. So I think what you do is you have different behaviours and habits. You have to look for them. They're small, and you have to look for how their players play within that system. And I always do that. I hunt the opponent to see what they do. And for us, we know the quality that they have, and they've got players coming back. So we've got to just play our game in the end and just know that there are little nuances. They might not be tactical, but they might be more technical. And what their behaviour, and more importantly, again, behaviours. I don't think we talk about behaviours enough in football. Tactics are there, they exist, everyone knows them, but behaviours within them adapt the tactic. It's really like it's a small detail, but I think their behaviours are adapting, their mood, their mindset. And look, they'll want to come and beat us at Old Trafford, of course they will. I remember last time we played them here, they were highly motivated at Old Trafford, and we have to make sure we go above that motivation level if we want to win the game.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Best of luck.
Thank you, Jay. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Dan, next please.
Morning, Mark. Hope you're well.
Good morning, mate. I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, all right, thanks.
Good lad.
Just kind of carrying on from that. Obviously, as you say, City have had injuries. It feels like they're getting more bodies back on the training pitch. You saw Greenwood and get a few minutes last week. So it's a changing picture with City. So does that kind of make it more difficult for you in terms of planning on what you're going to face? The fact that, they could have players coming back, they could have players coming in to impact the game later on after spells of injury.
Yeah, look, of course it adapts. And again, more importantly, the qualities of the players coming in, they have to make you adapt. But the reality is, Dan, that we also know what we can do to any team that we play. Even Chelsea the other day, we know what we can do. So there's a balance between what you give to the opponent and what you allow the opponent to give to you. And so I expect a tough game. I expect a tough game. The quality of the players that are returning for them. Look, it might have been a different story earlier in the season if Manchester City had kept their players fully fit, because they've acquired and bought over a period of time some exceptional players, but we've still been able to show our qualities this year against that. So I think it's a balance point, but we've just got to be ready, Dan. Like, if there's any more time to be alive than the last 3 games for Manchester United player, then I don't know a better time to be alive. So for us, it's the challenge of it, and we've got to embrace it. I want us to embrace it. We're here. They were disappointed the other night, which I think is a good emotion, because it doesn't mean you're deflated because of the result. You actually are disappointed because you should have won the game. So that bodes well going into this. But we have to exhaust everything. We have to go full throttle against Manchester City for the whole game and take their threats and make sure we put ours on them.
just want to talk about the possibility of doing a league double over City as well. I know that'll probably mean a lot to the fans to be number one in the city and obviously having that maximum points. What would it mean to you as a team and as an overall club to be able to say that? It's something that obviously hasn't happened, I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, I don't think it has. No, I don't think it has. I mean, it'd be brilliant, but again, that's an ego thing. For our fans, absolutely understand that, and that's where their head should be at, and that's what they want from the game. For me, my ego doesn't scream loud enough for that to be the case. For me, it's about trying to win the game because we want to qualify for Champions League and we want to make sure that we finish as high up in possible as the table. The reality is it hasn't really changed for us. If we can beat City and can beat Arsenal, we finish second in the table. So for us, there's a huge carrot. That's more of a carrot than just beating Manchester City. Again, you want to beat them because you're rivals and for your fans, of course, but the reality is I want to beat them because we want to progress into the future and get Champions League and so on beyond that.
That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Mark. Best of luck.
Have a great day, mate. Have a great day.
Thanks, Dan. Emma, please.
Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Em. Good to see you too.
Thank you. Just sort of following on that kind of, ambition to be in the Champions League. Simple question, really, but I wonder just how significant this game is given, the context of the fact, you've had a really strong season. Is it really important that actually you kind of get a tangible reward at the end of all of that hard work that's kind of been put in beforehand?
Yeah, of course, Em. That's got to be the aim. We won't shy away from that. It's a game that Manchester City have to win. We have to win. So it's a big game in that sense. But from our perspective, yeah, we want to get the reward that we feel we deserve. We've been excellent this season, considering we've had a start where we had to find out who we were, and then we've come into this run of form, and then even taken Chelsea toe to toe, which I don't think we've done before, in all honesty. So we want that tangible reward, of course we do, but we also got to earn it. Man City are not going to come up and give us that reward. We've got to earn it. We've got to take it. And that's where I want our mindset of our players. If they play to the best of their ability and give absolutely everything, then we'll put ourselves in a chance to win the game for sure.
Just looking at the wider picture of the league, you sort of touched on this on Wednesday, but obviously yourselves and City are two teams that are obviously trying, you're wanting to win the title. That's kind of your ambition, isn't it, at the start of the season? So I just wonder, there's been suggestions that it's not good for the league that Chelsea's won, 6 in a row. I wonder what your kind of opinion is on that, and sort of, what the responsibility is of, people like yourselves and obviously City to kind of make sure that isn't the case.
Yeah, I think it's a huge responsibility. And after our, you were in the press conference at the end of the game, and I think it was Kit asked me, what do you do? And I do believe it's a deeper reflection than just that moment. It's a good question. I think from my perspective, I still believe that Sonia inherited Emma's team of winners and mindset winners, and she's added her own kind of subtlety and detail to that, of course, and it would have been sillier for her to come and try and change everything straight away. But you're going to see Sonia's teams over these next few years, and then that is going to be different. It will be different. If they play more football, whereas I think Chelsea have always dominated really from the transitional football, and then maybe fell short for their own high standards when they play against the teams that can possess and also hit you with that intensity. And I think you're going to see that evolution. So that's going to be Chelsea's choice. That can either take them to another level, or it can make them attainable, or that we can actually get near them. So you can't focus too much on them. I know what this team needs. We need to increase our depth of quality for sure. I think our team have been brilliant this year and they've done that. But if you were to go into a European competition, our squad depth would not have been good enough this year. I have no doubt about that. And I think it's recruiting the right team, the right hungry. A hungry player is always better than a talented player that's not hungry. And I think that for me is the right secret we have to do, is to find those types of players. And then reality is, you're going to need a bit of luck in those big games. I felt Chelsea had the luck the other day. That was a penalty, and it should have been a penalty. So, but we can drop that now. But yeah, basically, that's what I think it needs. But then what I promise I'll do at the end of the season, I'll do a deeper dive, and I'll be like, what is it that needs? It's a driving factor for me, is how I can try and win the league for Manchester United. So I've got, and I put more pressure on myself to do that, Emma. Like if you look at, we all know finances are usually in line with league winners, right? And the team that spends the most tends to be around there, or otherwise you've failed as a team. And I think from our perspective, as we're doing it in a slightly different way, I've got to find what the difference is and how I can bridge those gaps. Because it won't be finance. It won't be finance. So it's about how I can recruit savvily, in a savvy way to make sure that we push and close those gaps.
Thanks, Mark. See you Sunday.
Thank you, Em.
Thanks, Emma. Tom, please.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning,
okay.
Tom.
Can I just go back to the Champions League qualification and just get a sense from you of what it would mean to the club to be back in the Champions League?
Yeah, it'd be huge, Tom. I think more importantly, Tom, what we'd like to go a step further and actually qualify for the Champions League. You know how difficult it is. Like this is the toughest league, and we then end up going through a qualifying phase. So it's extremely difficult to get into Champions League anyway. And then actually qualify for it is still another hard task. So we want to go further than we did before, but we know we've got to qualify first to get to those knockout rounds. But it'd be huge, Tom, huge in your recruitment, because I feel that people would want to come to Manchester United, but maybe we get pipped because we're not in Champions League, and that's where players want to play. So I think it's huge for recruitment. But reality is more experience as well, Tom. I think the way that, one of the things Emma was just talking about is how can we bridge the gap? Well, actually, we don't have as much experience of Chelsea in those bigger moments. They've played in Europe, those players. So when they come back into league, it almost feels like it's back to our daily job. And so we need to make sure our players experience that so that when they come back in, we have a better chance of winning those games as well.
And you've had successes in the derby, of course, but would success in the derby at Old Trafford sort of blow everything else out of the water in terms of a derby moment?
Yeah, I mean, we have to take... I absolutely love Old Trafford, and it's one of the most iconic stadiums ever. So, but the reality is, I have to take the stadium away and just be like, we have to try and win the game regardless. It doesn't matter where we're playing. I think we both, Manchester City and ourselves, have the goal of winning the game because they want to... they want to qualify for Champions League, and so do we. So I think more importantly, Tom, I think it's about trying to win the game regardless. If it's at Old Trafford in front of all of our fans, that's brilliant. But I actually just want to try and win the game. That's got to be our sole focus.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Tom.
Luck.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Tom. Catherine, please.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good, Catherine. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Good stuff.
I was just wondering, quick turnaround from the Chelsea game.
Mm-hmm.
How's the team doing? Any new niggles?
Yeah, I haven't seen them yet, but I don't believe so. In terms of, I gave them off yesterday, and then we'll get in today, we'll be in tomorrow, and then we'll go into the game. So I don't believe there is. I got a report last night saying that there's no new niggles, so hopefully everybody will be ready and fit.
Amazing. And then just a quick question on player specific. I thought one of the best players on the pitch the other night was Dominique Yansen,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wondered if you could speak a bit about what she brings to the United midfield.
Yeah, I thought she was excellent the other day, and I've said to, and just so we're clear, for the questions always come to me of why didn't Tooney play? Why doesn't Dom play? Why doesn't the reality? I've spoken to the players quite open and honestly as a midfield unit, because they've been excellent. That they'll all play their part in different games. Not every game is the same. You shouldn't treat them the same. Chelsea offer a different physical threat to some of the other teams you play, and so I felt that Dom dealt with that physical threat excellent, and she covers across the ground, Catherine. So she makes you defend less in the back line because she covers more in the midfield line. And so, but what I was really impressed with Dom was the composure with the ball. I felt that she's growing in that, and I challenged Dom. She'd come from playing centre half. I knew she played centre mid before, because I'd watched and always admired her when she played that position. And I set her a challenge at the start of the year that I feel that she can be the best, but I also feel she needs a season of doing it before we even see the best of her. So my challenge to her is to continue these last 3 games, try and do the same impactful job that she's done, but then challenge herself for next year too, because I feel there's way more to come from her.
Amazing. Good luck.
Thank you. And can I just, obviously, to extend my love and thoughts for Paul Lagan. I hear about his tragic death yesterday, and just want to send my love to Vicky, Danny and Jake, his family, and all you as well, because I'm sure that it'll impact you as journalists. So heartfelt love send out to him, and I hope everyone's okay, and I hope they find some solace in your community.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay, team.
Thank you.
I think we've got one more question. Phil, please.
Phil pops in at the end. Sorry, Phil, I didn't see your question.
No worries. Yeah, I was just going to ask, that match in January, obviously at the Etihad, pretty sort of big statement performance and win there. How big a boost sort of for United's general confidence came from that match in January, and the thought that you can now approach the derby with that under your belt? Is it sort of a bit different now, maybe?
Yeah, I hope so. I'd probably couple confidence, because we talk about confidence like it's an attainable kind of bottle we can pull off the shelf. Honestly, Phil, it comes from experience, confidence. If me and you were to go into something new now, I don't know, white water rafting, you've probably done it, you'd probably be excellent at it, but I wouldn't. I'd be really nervous. I've not done it, I've no experience of it, it's dangerous, it has lots of threats. When you've done it, you've already got that experience, and I think what we've been missing at this team is when you buy younger players and new players, they just don't have that experience, so they don't have that bottled confidence. And I think from my perspective, that we've got that in that game. But what, Phil, that I must stress enough, that'll be a huge motivating factor for Manchester City. Their energy levels will be through the roof, and we've got to match them and go above them. And that's a warning to my team, because if we don't do that, Manchester City have the quality to beat any team in this league. So we've got to couple that experience that then gives you the confidence, because we've done it before, to then go into this game and absolutely go full throttle. And if we do that, Phil, we have the experience and confidence to win the game. I have no doubt about that.